I hit the record thing. Hold on. Da, 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 da.
Hey, are
Intro.
you recording?
I am now. There we go.
Oh, that's what that red
Intro
light means.
time.
Thanks for tuning into the Carrie Hannah podcast. Here's your hosts, Bryce and Kevin.
Welcome back to the Carrie Handle podcast with your hosts, Bryce and Kevin. I'm Bryce. Kevin's with me as always. I don't know what happened. It's fine. I said I was going to fuck it up and I fucked it up
Well,
immediately.
okay. Well,
Hi,
that's a great
Kevin.
intro. Hello,
Thank you.
Bryce. Thanks for the hard intro.
Introducing you.
Yeah.
You like that? That was good, right? Well, we have another very distinguished guest with us. Who might that be, Kevin?
Hilton from 10-8.
Yes, Hilton Yam of 10-8 Performance. Thank you for coming on, sir.
Thanks for having me on.
Yeah, absolutely. So just kind of as if the 5 people that don't know who you are, can you give a just kind of a quick intro to who you are and your company and stuff that
Sure.
you do?
Sure. My name is Hilton Yam. I am the proprietor, founder, the everything guy at 10-8 Performance. It's a company that I run now for 2026 will be 20 years. And
Wow.
I am a retired FBI agent, almost 22-year career down in the Miami field office, which is one of the top 5 largest and busiest in the bureau. I was on our SWAT team for most of my career, and I was our principal firearms and tactical trainer, and also ran our firearms program in the division for a significant portion of my career. And now in retirement, I run my company full time.
Very cool. Well, so and
Right on.
when you were running when you were doing your SWAT stuff, what so the 1911 would have been the predominant gun that you would have been in and around in SWAT at that time?
For about 13 or 14 years, the number is a little fuzzy because it was kind of a soft transition out of the guns.
Okay. So I've followed you since modern service weapons, so like the earlier form and then the really early 10.8 forum days.
Mhm.
I still have a production E series rear sight somewhere. I've
Ha,
been waiting to buy the actual gun. And
don't buy the gun. Its time has
I
passed.
know. I saw your addendum
Nice.
later, but I actually have the original article you had because I saved it and reread it all the time. But yeah, so
They
followed your
snatched
work.
victory. No, wait, they snatched defeat from the jaws of victory, as it were. The
Well,
design was, especially for the time, for production 1911, and at the time when it was introduced 10, 15 years ago, ballpark, it
mm,
was, sub $1,000 production gun, which actually worked and had a dehorn because they tumbled all the parts, which at the time, again, it doesn't seem like that big of a deal now in 2025 lens of the industry, but having a gun that didn't have razor sharp edges all over it, Colt, um, they're still doing that.
yeah.
That was a big deal. Having an extractor that worked because they had an external extractor
Mhm,
that actually worked, and it didn't have a firing pin safety because they got rid of the Smith& and Wesson 1911. It was called SW 1911, was a model line, and that was a failure of proportions that there's not a font big enough for how big of a failure it was. The extractors, it had an early format external extractor that was very narrow, and it just didn't work. You could get a gun that would work for a little bit, then the
mhm,
extractor burnished in, and then it just stopped working, and you couldn't make it work because the specs weren't there, no matter what you
mhm,
did. And it had the grip safety actuated firing pin safety, which again on paper seemed like a great idea because you could advertise that it didn't affect the trigger pull.
mhm,
And that's great until it also goes out of time inevitably because it's not connected to anything that makes the gun fire. It's connected to something that makes the gun not fire. It's connected to the grip safety. So once that wears in and changes its fit to the gun,
mhm.
thereby its timing of that safety, then you can get a gun that goes click instead of bang. And that happened a lot too. And Kimber Series 2 safeties were also notorious for doing the same thing.
Interesting.
So
So
yeah.
were there that
Wow.
that was a shared design between them then? The grip
No,
safe
no, no.
actuated?
Colt, in the 30s, pre-World War II, Colt had designed and patented it was called the Swartz safety, and it was basically that was the concept, was grip safety actuated. And you'll notice that Colt doesn't has never revisited that after the
Yes.
war. Oddly, they didn't
That's
revisit
interesting.
that because it was a resounding failure,
Mm,
absolute miserable failure. So Kimber did it in their series two, starting around '05. Smith and Wesson tried it in a similar timeline, and of course abandoned it. And you know, I can't point to, positive proof or anything, but many of the changes that were in that the E series became, you had Smith and Wesson 1911 failure, and then the E series, which was very different. I had been at the factory sometime between those two events and had offered a number of suggestions at the time that I was at the factory. I said, hey, you know, the Smith& Wesson 1911 doesn't work at all. Here's some suggestions. You could do this, 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 and this on a production level, and it would be a very successful gun. And then, hey, look, the A series came out. So
Wow, interesting.
So in terms of Smith& and Wesson 1911s, was Paul Liebenberg the one that stood up that initial production when they were trying to, like, convert the
he,
3rd gens?
he
Or, like,
stood
try to
up
make
the
those sort of
performance center. He stood up the
okay,
performance center, which was their custom shop, and in doing so, he basically came up with the 40 Smith& and Wesson cartridge. Uh,
okay.
Paul's a brilliant designer and gunsmith, and he was very kind to me in the very early days of my gunsmithing that preceded starting my company, 10A Performance. I was just gunsmithing, and he was very kind and opened up his shop to me to check it out, and it served as both inspiration, business guidance. Actually, I guess more than both, many things. Just very kind man.
Well, so
Wow.
in terms of his external extractor design, how does that so what is different about that? Because if I remember correctly, what you said was, if I'm remembering the Smith& and Wesson article correctly, it was the height of where the external extractor had to lay or it was set relative to the internal extractor. How and because I
Yeah.
think you have an external extractor one as well, or a couple.
Yeah, I had only built a few. This is off a Caspian format slide, and they
Mhm,
basically kind of set a format that SIG and Wilson Combat and a bunch of others use the same location.
mhm,
And there's only so much space because if you can see it, I can see it in the light here. It runs right to the bottom, the bottom of the ejection port. It really should be maybe just a little bit lower. And you get to the point where you are going to saw through your slide in order to place this, because on a 45 specifically is what we're talking about. The center line of this, if you look, you crack open a internal extractor 1911 and look at where the claw is on the extractor, it's actually lower relative to the center line of the bore than this is.
mhm,
And because when the barrel links down, you can see the barrel swings down.
mhm,
And so if the extractor is too high, when the barrel swings down, linking down, it basically pulls the cartridge off uh, the claw of the extractor, and then nothing's holding it on, or not
mhm.
very much. So that's
Interesting.
really kind of the
Okay.
inherent balancing act with an internal versus external extractor on a 45 caliber 1911. There is a different amount of room that's available with a 9 millimeter, where obviously you can get those to work. This being
Mhm.
a V3 Staccato 2024 C. So
So, and have you had any trigger time on the new Kimbers, or like the modernized Kimbers with the external extractors at all? Oh, okay.
this
Well,
this one,
so,
Like that one?
so
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, there you go. Wait,
yeah.
wait,
I
is
have
that the
a
20?
limited
You're
amount of time, but I don't. Bryce, you've been following my work for a bit. Usually, I would have preferred to have more volume on this one. I only was able to get to 500 rounds, but I went through my whole test protocol and I took it apart on the bench and examined it and all my usual things. And they're definitely, I had asked about this because I told them very bluntly. I said, look, because they sent me this gun. They had offered it to me multiple times. And I said
mhm,
no until. Uh, at SHOT Show, my buddy Frank Proctor was at the booth, and he gave me a bunch of time, went over it, and introduced me to some of the key figures relative to this gun. And one of the guys actually had been acquainted with him on a prior project for a different company because people tend to move around different companies. And he laid it all out because I was very upfront. I said, "Hey, I am skeptical and the market will be skeptical of whatever you guys are doing because you guys have a very fairly earned reputation from the last 2 decades of having QC design execution issues." And he said, "Yes, we're aware of that. And this gun is made on a completely different production line." And he went over all of it, which we've been over. There's a lot of the execution on this. This is the nicest camper I've handled to date ever. Even back in their heyday, back when they were real popular, turn of the 2000s,
Mhm.
this gun blows it away. Just the fit up, and there are bar stock parts in here. It's just a much nicer gun. It shoots well, and there have been a lot of they got a lot of these guns out because they want to change their um, what do we call it? Their reputation. They want to
Yeah,
change the look, change the optics
right.
on it, and it's well earned. They're kind of on a redemption arc because, let's face it, any company they can have its ups and downs just
Yeah.
because because usually I'll see the comments less so because fortunately for good or bad, I don't have much presence on YouTube right now. So all the dumb comments about, well, I'll never buy a camera because I saw one at the gun shop and it
Yeah.
whatever. It's like that's good. That's good. That's good.
Good
Good
for
for
I'm
you,
you,
happy.
buddy.
sir.
Yeah.
Congrats.
2 world wars plus 1, brother. God bless. Uh,
God bless.
but, yeah, the execution on this is machine grip module. That's a very deluxe feature, having a
Mhm. D
machined aluminum grip
is that
module.
the updated safety?
Yes, yes. Yeah, they sent me an
Oh,
updated
okay.
safety, and it
Is
actually they're holding tolerances tight enough that it has the angle, for the sear stop stud already cut into it. I couldn't
ah,
tell because it had been bee blasted. It could have been molded that way. So, it's reasonable to think that if you're controlling all the tolerances tight enough, you could get all the parts to fit together that way. The reason
yeah.
why we usually have to cut them and fit them is because it's really hard to hold all of the tolerances for all the different parts to get them all to match up exactly because of
For
the
all the
nature of
different
the
guys.
design.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, it's the nature
Yeah.
of the design because
Right.
back then, 100 and some odd years ago, it was the best he could figure out as far as, okay, we can machine this to this tolerance and this part to this tolerance. There's a part we can't control well enough, so it has to be fit with a couple file strokes by the assembler. Okay, well, good enough. Then here we are, 114 years later, still working on that.
So are they now I realize you're not a Kimber guy necessarily, but you've talked to more people than I have about them. Do you know if they're 45s and like because I know they have the external extractor optics ready 45s and they still have their whole product line. Is that all getting rolled over to the updated designs or is that just there? Like is it just a
I actually
fastidial
didn't ask, right, I didn't actually ask about any of those because at the time, I didn't care. Um, the
Totally fair.
I looked what year is this? So 24 SHOT Show last year, I went and did a drive-by in their booth, and it was when they had what is it? The KDS something. It looks like a Wilson, the Wilson double stack. It basically looked like they copied Wilson Combat's homework, and that was what they're offering. They actually had offered to send me one of those. I said no several times, and I went and looked at them at the show. I looked at their legacy style lineup, the single stack guns, and none of them looked execution or design wise different enough from what I saw 20 years ago that I stopped to even talk to somebody or have someone talk to me, and I left. And so I worked off of that. They'd sent me a number of emails. I feel like somebody on their social media had been tasked to try to intercept any posts that I had about Kimbers and try to extend an olive branch, and I smacked it down all the different times until this SHOT
Nope.
Show.
You
Yeah,
gave him a
exactly.
fistful of arrows instead.
Yeah. I
It's
mean,
kinda
I've
like
been in
that.
the industry a really long time. I've been around this stuff since the '80s, and I've been professionally in the industry for like 25, 26, a lot of years. And I know that there are certainly, what would we call them? Well, nowadays we call them influencers, and I'll punch someone if they called me an influencer to my face. I am a industry professional who has a
I like that.
digital media presence because
That's
there is a
good.
difference.
Yeah.
There
Influencer
is.
means something different.
Absolutely is. Yeah.
That
They're an
I
advertising asset.
words mean things. They
Oh yeah,
absolutely mean
precision in
things. So
language.
I can totally appreciate that. So,
Yeah,
so
but
it's
yeah, I'm not
actually
wowed by having products sent to me. Like,
yeah.
it's just more work because now I owe you something.
Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah. Yeah. You gotta give something to get something.
So actually, I was just thinking about this, but the first video, my first exposure to you, I think, was a shot show video where you were introducing the hook rear sight for the Kimber Warrior, I believe. So I think would have been 2007, maybe something like that. It would have been. I don't know. I mean, you. It was a video of you, I think, with Milspec Monkey or whatever from like a long time ago. Yes,
Wow.
many
Yeah,
moons,
okay.
That's a
many
great
moons.
Wow,
memory,
okay.
Bryce.
Clayton.
I
Clayton?
don't have a memory unless it's firearms related. I don't know anything except for that. That's all I
That
got.
is, that is true.
So that brings me to my next question, and I realize I don't know how many viewers would have followed you for that long necessarily, but there was a very good series you had about the Kimber Warrior, and maybe not series necessarily, but it was kind of like an armorer's look at a bunch of tragic railed guns, and at the time, I don't know
Oh,
if
that's right, yeah.
yeah, so I
They
don't know
were
if people
teal something, they're those TLE, or were they warriors? I would
they
have
were
to look it up, but
warriors,
I know
they
which
were
one you're
desert
talking. Okay.
warriors. Yep.
Okay, so yeah, it was, a local department where they had a team, with they had some 30, 40 odd Kimber, yeah, warriors, and they had asked for my partner and I, in firearms training to go up and do, pistol class or whatever for them, and we couldn't get through a relay without guns just choking and puking. And this was during the era that we were using 1911s. And my
Hmm.
partner is pretty spooled up on the stuff by just, if nothing else, by osmosis from being around me. And we're looking at each other. It's like, we can't get through this class because you're just darting around fixing guns and or trying to look at people's guns. They're unworkable. So I ended up going back and doing an armor class for them. And then after seeing the inside of all their guns and how bad they were, I ended up going back now that I'd trained their principal instructors as armors with them as my assistants. I fixed uh, all of the guns for the whole team over it was like 2 or 3 days. It was insane. Um, got them all to work. Got oh, I think it's up behind me. Yeah, up on the shelf. They're probably not visible on screen, but the uh, the department ended up giving me a plaque, and chief came down to thank me and all that stuff because the guns just suddenly worked after that.
I mean, I
Did a
think
lot of work.
I think that's that affords you a thank you.
Well, I think it's interesting to kind of frame the conversation when we talk about Kimber not working. I mean, people that actually had to use them knew they didn't work. I mean, I just wanted to, as an important caveat to what we were talking about earlier, it's really cool. And when we say a redemption arc, I mean in the purest form. I mean, it
Oh
seems like
yeah.
people that shoot are still enjoying these guns. So,
Mhm.
and it was really interesting. I saw that they had a double stack 45, uh,
Yeah.
2011 as well, and I thought that was interesting because I also remembered your article on how to get back way back when you were trying to get it was an STI
Mhm.
45 to run.
Yep.
And I love the series. And I always hated because like you'd have like 1911 articles and then you'd be like, yeah, but Glock's probably what you want to carry. And I'm like, no.
Yeah. Yep.
I
And
always remembered
I
that.
I actually looked at some of those old articles, and the message hasn't changed. It's just that people still didn't want to listen to it. Um, But, yeah, the Kimber, they do make a 2K11 and 45, and apparently because they're kind of the only game in town for that, it's pretty popular. I did not want to review 45 because the reality is, there's a reason that the market, by and large, like the actual market that's shooting in high volume, wants them in 9,
Mhm.
no one's shooting 45 in that kind of volume, anymore. ballistically, there's no reason to have it. And also, the main function issue is that the column of rounds for 45 is, think about it, you get this fits 1700 and let's just say 115 grain projectiles, or you could fit probably like was 11 or 12, I think,
Yeah.
230 grain payload projectiles, and that weight is not for free because that's more than double the weight,
Yeah.
in a
Yeah.
spring column, and these are undersprung by design because the primary design parameter on these was to stuff the maximum number of rounds into them, and the spring was honestly kind of an afterthought, and that's one of the leftover byproducts of this legacy 2011 design. So, yeah, 45, yeah, good luck.
So
They're
in
just
in terms of
too
like
heavy.
That's
yeah.
interesting. Okay.
So in terms of speaking about legacy design, I I'm used to old STI mag tubes with spacers. Why is
Mhm.
it that there's so like it's fine for the newer the Gen 3 or whatever generation STI magazines were on, or the Checkmate, whomever makes the magazines.
Right,
The
right.
it's not spaced is now. And when I had a 2011 for and it was a Turkish one, so it wasn't a very good one, but I
Sorry.
always my favorite thing was dropping the magazine and having a round pop out, and then the rounds just sort of having basically over an eighth of an inch of just free play back and forth in the magazine. So is it not worth retroactively adding is it worth having a spacer or not having a spacer, or are you just making the best of a bad situation in terms of design?
That the latter. The design was originally a 38 Super, and, that
And that
is
was to fill the
for
45 length, right? The overall length for the magazine?
well, because the 38 Super is effectively the same, bracket of overall length,
Right.
as the 45. So and no one those they didn't come out as a 45. That was again, that was an afterthought. They came along years later when USPSA actually created a limited division
Mhm.
because there really wasn't a limited initially because there was no separation. We had a dude I shot with, he shot a single stack 45, and I was shooting a double stack 38 Super with an optic and a comp, and we were in the same division because there wasn't one. And,
Yeah.
he was just sad all the time. He was a good shooter, but man, he suffered. He suffered.
Sucks to suck.
Yeah. Like, "Hey, bro,
Jesus.
I just shot this course, this stage in, 40% of the time it took you."
So when
But,
now talking about competition, I guess we can kind of just touch on that a little bit as well.
Pip
But
pivot.
you are
Yeah.
as you've alluded, you're not new to competition shooting in terms of getting your start and where you were shooting. Were you in law enforcement before or after competition?
oof, I've been in and out of competition since the '80s, so it has spanned, every variation of that question. So
Okay.
I started when I was a kid, and I only just started back into USPSA now after a 12-year layoff. Boy, has the game changed. It's gotten a lot
Yeah.
harder.
Oh yeah.
But I
More
got
mag
I
wells.
got a lot better, shooting, just this calendar year. Just in the last, I've only been back in about 6 months into USPSA, and, I've shot an insane volume of ammo this year, and, I've gotten so much better, and, it wasn't like I wasn't training before, but the amount of different skill sets that I'm putting to the test and, um basically realizing, "Oh, I should train this because I ran into this at the match and really didn't like my performance on it." That kinda thing, which is the most excellent, byproduct of the matches other than, getting out and just having some fun. If
So
mom
in
told
terms of
me not to run around with scissors, I'm running around with a loaded gun.
reverse engineering a deficiency, you would say that's a good place where you're pressure testing stuff like that. Okay.
Absolutely, absolutely. Because And the internet, I think, makes it worse, and you guys, we're all, we met through the internet, so, but, you
The
look at,
World Wide Web.
yeah, you look at what's popular on the gram, when people are shooting, it's them basically shooting off screen, like, at the gun cyclic rate, and that gets the likes, um,
Yeah. People really
but
like that stuff.
Yeah, but if you actually get out to a match, any format really, I mean, whatever, floats your boat. I like USPSA because it is the most open-ended and the most, technically demanding. Um, it basically doesn't have any veneer of, "Hey, we're this," or "We're tactical,"
Mhm.
or, "We take this seriously." No, we're gonna run around, there's a bunch of different targets that are,
What are you
oddly
talking about?
familiar shape.
IDPA is training.
A match, and if we I would be happy if people get out to shoot, like, if IDP is all they have available, but, w 2 things. 1, yes, a match format should not be considered training in any sense. It doesn't matter what, USPSA match isn't training either, because you think about it, if you were like, a sports ball team and, you went out and said, "Hey, we played a big game, man, that was good training." No, that was your test. Your training happened leading up, Monday through Friday or whatever for the big game on Saturday
Mhm.
or Sunday or whatever, whenever you play.
Whenever the
Um,
sports people play.
yeah, whenever the sports ball
Yeah.
happens. No, but I mean
Yes.
that there is a difference. So it shouldn't be confused because people have said, well, if you shoot fill in discipline, it'll get you killed on the street. Well, that's nonsense. One, I've never decided just to break cover and run because I did that on a match or something. So that's foolish. It is just a skills test. It is
Well,
a skills
didn't
test.
didn't
Interesting.
Jerry Barnhart, USPSA master man, or I guess IPSC at the time, but I mean, wasn't
Yes.
that didn't he frame basically most of the FBI's training from
He framed,
competition?
the our tactical pistol training, and at the time that we contracted him, you can see, actually right there, a whole stack of his DVDs, and,
I
up
did see
there,
those
is,
earlier, yeah.
yeah, one of the hats that I won, at one of his
So
classes. I've
cool.
been to, I think, 5 or 6 of his week-long classes. So we had him under contract, and at the time he was the first pro shooter to get tapped to, train elite units in
Mhm.
shooting, and we were not the first. It wasn't we there's a, certain Army special operations unit that, is so secret that everybody knows who they are and where they're
So,
based, but they contracted
uh,
Jerry first, and,
wow.
Okay.
countless other units, um,
And was
so
Bill Rogers FB who Bill Rogers was
Bill
FBI?
Rogers, it's on his resume all the time, and, he is a brilliant inventor and designer. He
Yeah.
was in the FBI for about 3 years.
Oh,
Well, I mean,
okay.
that's still the
Was it
FBI.
didn't he leave so he could sell them his own holsters?
That's it is effectively my understanding, yeah, so it didn't
Okay.
become a conflict of interest, but there's,
Right.
I don't
You
wish
call
him
it
any ill will for that because he really kinda defined the holster industry,
you
Yeah.
but
call it
yes, when I
conflict, I
see
call it
former FBI
capitalism.
agent, it's like, dude, those 3 years. I have, like, holsters that were in the FBI for longer. So, um, that's
That's
cool. Hey,
excellent.
whatever.
So, really quickly, just dance back for a minute. We talked about caliber choice. I mean, just ever so briefly, but in terms of what you saw in your career, from people wanting everybody to fall to hardball to Glock 19s and Glock 17s and blah blah, or 40 cal
Like,
or whatever
yeah, like
other.
Mhm.
45 to 40 Smith to 9. Was it
What
Yeah.
like a
was it more just a dogmatic dyed in the wool, I have to have a 45 and a 30 cal, or was there an actual because I've heard Larry Vickers talk about military application, you're poking holes, so might as well poke a bigger hole because they're not using FMJs.
yes,
But in terms of law enforcement, I mean, you're using whatever modern ammunition you have at your access to, sorry. So, what were you seeing people just resilient to accepting a European caliber, or was it just those guns somehow offered something different other than ballistics? I realize there's a giant ballistics conversation that has to happen in the background there,
Mhm.
but
Mhm.
is it displacement, or
we'll
was
just
there something
assume
else involved?
we'll just assume we know the ballistics for sake of argument or
Oh, I can
conversation.
I can sum up the ballistics real quick too, because I was in the second class ever to get the Glocks, which were I was issued a Glock 23. We had, 165 grain Hydra-Shocks, and, and then obviously I went through the whole progression, and then I got a 45 after I transitioned to the Springfields. We had 230 grain Golden Saber, which had no flash retardant in it, and, didn't have a bonded
Oh,
jacket. didn't have a bonding jacket because when the contract, and we only ever had the same contract the whole span of the 45 caliber. It was that same 90s era Golden Saber. And then when we transitioned to 9, so a lot of people got really bent at the time that we issued the white paper that a lot of agencies picked up, and our ballistics testing lab, which is an actual laboratory because I'd been in
Mm.
it many times, actual laboratory with amazing amount of technological capability, high speed camera, you name every tool for analyzing
They
ammo
have it at their disposal.
performance, they have it at their disposal. So
Is
the
that the one that analyzed the
performance,
320?
yes, yeah,
Okay.
that's
Continue, I
yep.
apologize.
Yeah, so but the ammunition performance, the 40 was, was the flavor of the day. That was basically the best performance you could get because the bullet technology for 9 hadn't evolved yet. And then, when we got the 1911s, it really came about less so because of the caliber itself, but because, at the time, HRT had, the double, stack, less bare built power ordnance guns, and that obviously is a fat 1911. And
Built
they
on
said, "Hey, the
P14
field."
frames, right?
Yeah, 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 and they said, "Hey, the field." There's some report that came out, um, and I don't remember the name of the report, but it said, "Hey, the field team should have some commonality of pistol with the National Asset Unit, being HRT, so
Mm.
that training and resources have commonality." So basically, it was deemed, well, let's not get everyone a P14 because those kind of suck. Um, Not kind of suck, they suck with all capital letters. Um,
Extreme prejudice.
yeah, and, yeah, yeah.
Goddamn
So those
Canadians.
suck. So the RFP ended up getting written around a single stack 1911. Because at the time that you think of the units still using the premier counter terrorist military units still using a single stack 45
Yeah.
for that role. So that became kind of a little bit of model that we worked
Is
under.
that where the hard fit barrel carried over from? Because I know Les Bear's big on that, and like the
Yeah, it's a
Springfield
traditional.
Professionals are.
That was part of there was an absurd accuracy requirement,
Mhm. I
and the
remember
Golden
Wilson
Saber is
having a
not very accurate.
conniption about that.
Yeah. Yeah,
He
the
built
Golden
like a
Saber is
Interesting.
not
fixed
a
barrel.
particularly accurate. Yeah, and basically
Yeah.
proved that the ammunition was barely capable of that
Right.
performance. So,
Right.
honestly, if they had opened it up from needing it to be like an inch at 25, and remember, this is mid-90s that this was happening. Right now, you can get a Glock with a drop-in KKM barrel, or honestly, many of the other brands, where you can shoot like Blazer ammo, under an inch and a half at 25 with,
Yeah.
all parts that drop together. But
Right.
again, the tech wasn't there. And so the accuracy standard was set a little too high. So I ended up with those Springfields needing to be really, really tight in order to actually shoot that standard.
Okay.
Oh,
So.
but then by the time the 9 transition occurred, it wasn't back to, it was just that it happened to be the same caliber. It was not remotely the same cartridge that we used in the 80s, which was
Mhm.
like a 115 silver tip, which is a dreadful bullet.
Well, that was the
Interesting.
silver tip
Okay.
was used in the Platin-Matic shootout, right?
Yes,
That I mean,
yes.
I don't remember who had it, but
Jerry Dove
there
fired
was
the
a
round,
semi-automatic.
went,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah, Jerry Dove and Ben Grogan had
Dove. That's right. Okay.
the Smith& and Wessons, yeah. So
Yeah.
Jerry fired the round that went, transverse through, Platt as he was crossing over the hood. I briefed this shooting, extensively and in great volume. So even now, this many years later, I remember a lot of the details. But yeah, when transverse, it should have penetrated farther into his torso and it would have cut his aorta, but it did not. So there are many different types of failings that occurred in that shooting, but certainly, the ammunition was not up to the task because you could argue, "Oh, they should have done this and that." Yeah, I get it because I was on the bank robbery squad, and we took down guys certainly n not in the history of law enforcement, I think, has there ever been a pair of dudes that were as motivated as those 2. But in the opening shots of that fight, the vehicles crashed together, and I was there at the actual site. It is way
Mm,
smaller than you think. You basically
mhm.
park 3 cars touching, two side to side and one, uh,
Wow. Okay.
nose to tail. There you are. And
Yeah.
that's how I would brief it. I'd get the agents to position 3 of their cars, and I'd position paper targets, and I said, "Okay, we're gonna go for, uh, have a gunfight that I'm gonna start. You each get revolvers with some loose rounds, and, I'm gonna start with a magazine-fed 30-round magazine-fed semi-auto 223 rifle, and I'm gonna start the fight. We're not leaving the confines of this area for 4 minutes." And it gets real quiet.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I mean, I know was it Ed Morales is or he has I don't know if he's still doing it, but he had a seminar he was putting on for a while. Actually, I got to go meet him and watched his seminar on that shootout. It was
Really
I
cool
mean, that
dude.
man is a machine. That was impressive. If you're not familiar, you should look up who Ed Morales is and why he's so cool. One-handed pump shotgun, man.
Yeah,
God
I got to
bless.
physically place his shotgun into the memorial that was in the lobby of our office.
Oh,
Wow.
wow.
That's
That's really cool.
that's amazing.
That's super sick. Oh, that's incredibly that's really cool. So now I I got a little sidetracked. I was gonna ask, now I when you guys were doing 40 Smith& and Wesson, or you were doing the trials for that, were you guys also using high powers at the time, or were those just kind of in
Only
inventory?
No, only HRT had the high powers, and those
The
had gotten
Novak
phased
ones,
out.
right?
Yeah, and those were getting phased out by the time the 40s were in, because then they were running the less bears
Okay.
at around that time. And by the time I got into the tactical program and was up at Quantico, those high powers were simunition guns. They were just getting kicked around. Yeah, they'd
Oh,
been
Oh my
wow.
god,
converted.
that's complete nonsense. Oh my goodness. So really, I was going to ask you. I brought Wilson Combat up earlier, and if I remember correctly, Wilson Combat acquired the rights to or acquired Chip McCormick not too or a
Correct.
few years ago.
Yes.
So as a man that or might buy a couple 1911 magazines, I've always been curious. Have you
Might
noticed any
buy.
production differences between other than them basically merging the 10-round
Right.
magazines design?
No, the quality is the same. The reality is that there's a reason that the companies got absorbed, because Chip was one of my mentors, and I mean, here, this is a Chip McCormick 8 rounder, and
Oh, that's so
he
cool.
he had he basically shut down production so that they could run these tubes for me, and just as a favor, because the amount that I needed or could afford was probably just a blink during a day's production. So very kind. I'm actually pretty sad that when I was at the Staccato factory back in 2019, I didn't go visit him because he passed away shortly thereafter. Just very
Mm.
sudden heart attack. Uh, Great guy, but there's some commonality in tooling, so it was logical for Wilson Combat to absorb the product line.
Mm. So, in terms of, do you still recommend 47Ds over? I mean, I don't know how much recommending you're doing a single stack 1911s necessarily, but in
I,
terms
I
of
I do, but not the 47Ds. The 47Ds, we use those at work, and they are not. They should stay in the '80s when from the era they were designed. It's a good recreational magazine. You could even use it okay enough for competition. There's some much better designs. The wire diameter's super, super thin. The tube length is not that much longer for the extra rounds. The follower is real thin and fragile, so they wear really badly. So between the weak spring and the column length, oh, and also the tube with a slot cut down the middle, basically allows the tube to flex and basically causes the top of the magazine to spread very quickly. So, oh, and then the base pads would crack and break off as if you're doing a slide lock reload with them. That's what's stopping the magazine, and those would bend and then they break. So we'd get about 6 months tops out of one of those, maybe less sometimes.
it's interesting. I've run single stack. I have a 99 Kember target something or other, and I've run. Well, I mean, it all has 10.8 base plates now, but so I actually have first production run at 10.8 base plates, and I think like 19 of your current production ones. So I just
Cool.
don't have
Thank
the
you.
magazines.
Thank you.
I just know they go out of stock all the time, and I was like, I'm just gonna buy all these.
Good plan. Good
Snag 'em
plan.
while they're up.
Because now they're
Yes.
discontinued.
Oh, there you go. See?
Oh, oh, wow.
Yeah. So that's why I do that. 10.8 stuff is really cool, but it's not always around. But
There you go.
just in terms of oh fuck, I forgot. I lost the plot. So when I remembered the 9 millimeter Wilson Combat magazines. I always had really erratic lockback, and I think I had like 5 of those. I ended up not literally throwing them away. I got the updated follower design, and the
Mhm.
9 millimeter 1911 Wilsons I thought worked better than the 45s because they locked back more reliably. But they also didn't have that polymer follower anymore. I mean, well, the second generations didn't. But
Yeah, they
and then
went
and
to
then
a
I ended
steel
up
follower.
switching. Yeah, and then I ended up switching over to the Vickers magazines. Also, can't buy those anymore, but that's for a different reason. But I mean, in terms of being a good quality magazine, they were very good, except for that polymer follower. That was just kind of a deal breaker. And
Yeah, in the
the ETM
nines, yeah, that
mags,
generation didn't work out so good.
yeah, and then
Okay.
the ETM mags. I don't remember what they're called or the actual name, but I know they have a longer tube to facilitate more spring?
Absolutely. And
Okay.
the current generation, the tube is more stable, and it has a little dimple in it that pushes the follower over towards the slide stop. So if you look at should be on the top right of the tube. It's got a dimple in it, and it
Yeah.
pushes the follower over.
I was wondering what that was for.
Yeah, yeah. And then there's a square wire version, and that's what I recommend. It is the most modern one. Square wire lasts a really long
HD?
time. Yeah, that's
Like
it.
the Plus PhD or something?
Yeah, it's too many letters. It's like the 500 series. That is the magazine to get
Yeah.
for 45,
Okay. Okay.
period.
Alright. That's
Wow,
interesting.
there's so much nuances to 45s. I'm aghast, just
So,
sucking it all in.
I don't know how much, other than building on your own guns or video series for the gunsmithing series that you do occasionally, The do you still have any, like, a stable of recommendations? Because I remembered back in the day, you had, like, "Don't buy the big Colt Romark slides, you should buy the d" yeah. So I remember the how-tos of what to buy because I remembered you had kind of a de facto or was it the
Oh, yeah,
Code
that's right. It was
3?
an article. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, it was like and then because 'cause you're it was a spring or at the time, I think it was Springfield you were a little bit more friendly with, but do you current day, 2025, what are you recommending for guys that actually want to build a custom 1911?
Like a Springfield Garrison or Mil Spec, or depending which one suits your flavor profile. Honestly, the Springfields are an excellent value. They're the straightest and the cleanest for the money with good metallurgy. Because I know the frequently argued is, well, I could get one that's imported from some country with slave labor and questionable practices that costs, X dollars less. Okay, go ahead. Um, I've seen enough of the metallurgy issues because there's invisible places to save money. Heat treating is one of those.
Hmm,
Um, because if the gun could be amazing through the miracles of slave CNC technology, and like legit, joking aside, you can cut a gun that looks pretty good and it's pretty straight. Because I've handled a lot of the imported guns, and they feel pretty good, and
mhm,
it's kind of amazing what they manage at the price point. But then I've also been sent pictures of ones that have been shot not that much. Within
mm,
500 rounds, you get peening of the barrel
Uh,
that I have not seen peening like that, and I've seen a lot of guns that were over 100,000 on them,
mhm,
like a lot of guns,
yeah,
and didn't see peening like that.
so they're kinda, like, pretty for the shelf, and they have, like, a cheap
Yeah,
price point, and people buy them. But then when they
and they
start
don't shoot
seriously
them.
using them, then they'll see
They
these
don't. So
issues.
you don't get to that part. The
Ah,
the
okay.
average the multiple industry surveys indicated that one of them said the average life cycle on the guns was on guns purchased out in the marketplace was 7 rounds, and another one
I
was
believe that.
under one box of ammunition.
I believe that
Yeah.
So
Yeah, I
completely.
can see I mean, I see people at my local range all the time where it's like, they go out with, like, 2 boxes and they're done. I'm still there with my bag of, just
yeah,
hammering it out.
I
yeah,
used to work on
most
a
most of the
production
market, yeah, doesn't shoot.
That's 100%. So I used to work at a production facility. We basically customize, so, like, coat and laser engrave and stuff like that for distributors, and so me and 2 other guys were the 1911 guys because apparently those are too hard to figure out. Too complicated for people to By work on, I mean take apart and put back together. That's it. Uh, the quality and fit and finish gun to gun, and I'm talking like the 1911 A1 TSOS, whatever the hell, the triggers, I mean, you'd get a 9-pound one, and then you'd get what felt like a 2-pound one. You'd get ones with hammer follow out of the box, like you'd rack it back, definitely not drop the slide on an empty chamber, and the hammer would go smack right forward. The the internals in terms of the disco, the sear, they all look like they were sort of hardened putty, just vaguely, and then with casting marks almost as big as my eye. So, yeah,
Here's
I'd
my
have to
surprised
agree.
face.
Yeah, I do see that.
For the viewers
It's
at home,
riveting.
it's very surprising.
Yes, it
Mhm.
is. The driest way possible. But yeah, I mean, now
Like a saltine cracker.
there might so if I remember correctly, later production 1911s in World War II only had 2 hardened parts.
Well, more significantly, the slide um, was only partially hardened. It was induction hardened. They did this induction coil and basically stuck the thing
Mhm.
into that coil, and that's why they
Surface hardened.
well, it was basically only hardened from here back, so it basically stuck it into the
Mm,
induction coil, and that's why when you look at them, they're finished, they're dark here and then light going back because they only needed the impact surface to be hardened, and they weren't expecting them to need to last very long. Because think about the reality of what they're trying to do. You're not doing a training workup with it. You're in middle war. It needs to
yeah.
function for maybe
Right.
if you
It was like
You got time.
5,000
if it
rounds or
went for
something?
the initial was 6,000 rounds, and that was meant to
6,000,
be
okay.
an absurdly destructive cycle. That was insane. Think about that. If you're in like a three-piece wool suit and a bowler hat, and maybe
Shooting
with like
one-handed.
shooting one-handed for 6,000 rounds,
Yeah.
maybe with a piece of brass stuck in your ear if you're a sissy.
What?
If you're Yeah, exactly. So, they weren't meant to last. That's why, the whole thing, "Don't dry fire 1911." Well, yeah, if you have one of those war era ones that wasn't hardened in the breech face, you shoot a hardened firing pin into it, yeah, it's gonna go it's gonna lose.
Alright, well,
Interesting.
I don't wanna keep you too much longer. I know you got some stuff to do, but, we definitely really appreciate you coming on. It was really, really amazing. We'd like to have you come back on,
I'm
maybe a more
I've learned a
targeted
lot
conversation.
more about
So if you have
45s in
any
the
other
last 20
burning
minutes than
questions,
anything.
we got some burning questions, we can hit those so that your listeners don't have to, stay up, uh,
Oh,
Top
wondering
man,
about
I
the
I don't know,
nature of the
I have a question. I have a
okay.
question.
Kevin with his hand up.
You don't
My
have to
hands
raise your
raised.
hand. I don't know if people can see that or not.
Oh, I just do it instinctively.
He's
What are
literally
the
the host.
what are the top 5 most common failures you've seen across the board when like the 2011s?
Oh, in 2011's top 5. Well, magazines, magazines, and internal extractors. That's
Internal
legitimately yeah,
extractors.
yeah.
Interesting.
So, internal, not external ones.
Yeah,
So yeah, the
that's what I
internals. Yeah,
interesting.
yeah. I mean, that's the if we were to go to hey, single stack 45 top 5 failures, I'd say extractor because by default it would be internals, extractor, magazines, extractor, yeah, something like that.
Oh,
On that as being glib because that could be a very
yeah,
long list of different failures. But
Right.
in the
right.
2011s, by and large, the legacy format magazine is the source of failure. Um,
Okay.
and
I
then
remember
Wow.
they
some of the
needed to
guns
be
from the bottom
tuned. There
spec.
were whole custom shops, like, they
I
just would
I
tune
was gonna say
magazines.
I remember Bryce was going down that rabbit hole because I had to suffer through it. He can call me every day, like, "Oh, the magazines, the magazines." He
Yeah.
reminded me of Charlie from Sunny in Philadelphia, the same where he's like just crazy on the wall. Don't mind that.
He's
That's
got the
just my
string thing on the wall.
Yeah, and he's
Mm.
just like,
I was telling him about the
I figured
MDX
it out.
tubes and the different spring
Yeah.
lengths and the
Yeah.
bodies, and I'm like,
Yeah.
I
It's
kind of, I just kind of tuned him out. I'm like watching a
pat me
video,
on
and
the head.
every now and again, I'm like, what? Oh yeah, yeah, Mags, cool, cool, yeah. Go back to watching a video.
Yeah, the design is just inherently limited as far as what it's capable of doing because it's taking a double column, true double column, necking it at this super high friction area into a true single column. And the only other successful magazine that we had that did that is this P7 M13 HK. It
Yeah.
has to be made to very stringent specifications. So it's not just something you can smash together like a Glock magazine.
How much improved? Because I know the C model has its own particular set of issues in terms of spring strength. Now that it was supposed to be a purpose designed 9 millimeter magazine, but it still has the spring problems. I know they had to they lengthened the follower and took one round away.
Yeah,
Uh,
actually, what they did was add a, little fence onto the spring retainer on the bottom, and it's still a double to single. It's just that its size, both this way, is specific for 9. It's a huge leap over the the legacy, the V2 magazines. They call this. The factory calls this the V3, except that people are going to want. There's certain consumer expectation, reasonable, that it should have X number of rounds in it. Well, really, what it should be is X minus 2 rounds.
right,
So this is a started as a 16, and then they're like, that doesn't work out. So then they made it a 15, and it still has to be this extra length.
right.
And the
It still
reality is,
sticks
it
out.
should be,
Yeah.
yeah, it should be in this length, probably I would say a 14 with a lot more spring.
Okay. Interesting. So, would you say that magazine is not worth that? Would you say that gun is worth going to over a P or one of the other legacy guns in terms of magazine design?
That's a good question. I'm trying to figure out how to distill that down. The I mean, the magazine is smaller and purpose built, but it's sole source. There's only one answer for it in the Staccato factory. These legacy ones, there are a lot of different answers, but
Yeah.
it requires a lot of different answers because it's got a lot of questions. Um, so, and Bryce, you follow along with my travels this year. Um, this is the 100% answer for me. The
Yeah.
new Staccato
I
HD
was gonna
line.
I was yeah, I was gonna say
Hey, look, it
now,
takes clock max.
yeah, is that the 3 or is that just
No,
the 4?
I don't have the 3.6 yet. This is my
Okay.
one of my P4s. This is the original one. This has 11,000, 12,000 rounds on it right now. Just this calendar year. So
And that one has coincidentally also the updated safeties, correct?
yeah, I just got
Seems
back
to
from
be in
the
the air.
factory for the updates. Yeah.
That's so
That's the
funny.
way to go. It
Okay.
improves your reach on the trigger finger placement, just because it thins. Oh, sorry, I don't know. Yeah, for those not viewing but listening at home, the back end of the gun is thinner with the new safeties because the cross section of them ends up thinning down the grip, and it allows your finger to sit on the trigger better.
Yeah,
Is
I did well
and
on
then
it before, but better now.
using the
uh,
Glock mag kind of takes out that variable for the
in terms
for the
of magazines,
in
right?
terms of
100%.
complications.
Yeah, I mean, every match I go to, like if someone bought me a beer every time I saw a Legacy Format 2011 mag fail, you'd have to drag me out of the match on my face.
And
Nice.
that's to include the newer magazines as well, or have you seen an appreciable
Which newer magazines?
yeah, not the C's, the
Gotcha.
P.
Yeah, yeah. Every variation of the legacy format. I just call this the legacy format
Okay,
because
okay.
the
Fair
factory
enough.
calls them V2 mags,
Okay.
which are now Gen 3. I know it's a lot of numbers,
Right.
which is why I just call it the legacy 2011
Fair
because it's
enough.
all the whole
So
ecosystem.
is it like
Yes,
an
because
inherently
of this
flawed?
junction right here, because of
Yeah.
the junction, you don't have to get a lot of dirt in here, and then they start to stick, fall, or the column of rounds binds. Then you're hooked,
Interesting.
and then you're buying
Interesting.
me beers.
And so does that account for the the dead space in the magazine, does that account for me dropping the magazine and rounds popping out? Is this they're not being
Uh,
held by the feed lip?
the feed lips have adequate engagement, but there's a bunch of space in the front because the tubes were originally designed to allow space for 45 to come out. So
Mhm.
there's a little more room for the rounds to rattle around. And depending, which magazine you have, it may or may not trap the next round. There's a lot of issues. It's an imperfect system for sport, recreation, competition. I mean, you can get around it, and obviously people do, and they do very well
Mhm.
with it. But I have spent my entire life chasing something about 1911s, and I don't look for more work in my off time. So this, for me, this the again, listeners, I'm holding a Staccato HDP4. It gives me all the 1911 mojo that I love with the straight back trigger and the thumb safeties, and the grip angle and bore axis, but it just has removed all the "Hey, Hilton, come look at this, and can you fix this?" I'm on my lunch break. I'm also paying to be here at a class, and I'm
Right.
on my lunch break. "Yeah, but can you
Leave me
fix my
alone.
gun?" "Yeah, well, that's
Is
that's me at every goddamn class." So
Yeah.
I've already had 3 beers. I don't need any more.
that's right,
Please.
that's right. You guys aren't even buying me the beers to fix these
God
things.
damn it, man.
So
That came
I
here off my face.
I have
That's right.
Uh,
another question,
Sure,
if I may. So as
you
a
may.
I don't own a 45. I know it's ungodly.
Do you hate America?
that's what
The
I
hell,
said.
Kevin? Jeez.
My first gun was a Glock. I needed something reliable. Okay, it was a Glock 19. I
That
needed something
that's fair, but
reliable.
you still hate America, I think. That's what you're telling me.
What point me in the right direction for my first 45. It's within reason of my
What's your budget? What's within reason?
I'll say $1,000.
I told him to get a Garrison.
Yeah, yeah, get a Springfield Garrison. This is a Springfield TRP, the 2024 refresh. But yeah, Garrison is a great value. You know what else is a great value? I think in the same price range. I don't know. The Springfield Operator. Um,
Operator.
it that actually comes off a production line that is like if you've got the Garrison and the mil spec and all those like here, in this space, the operator's on this sort of tier, and then there's the TRP guns. So it's this kind of sleeper that's above the other production lines, and I can again, no one can pay me enough to say stuff I don't want to, so I say stuff because I want to.
Right.
The operator is a great deal because it's basically like a naked TRP, without the window dressing, no checkering, no serrations here and there, and all that
Isn't that
stuff.
how they
Which,
sold
Interesting.
the range officers? Where it was like
yeah,
they had the paired because mine actually has I have a range officer operator and it has a
mhm,
serial on the slide and
yep,
the barrel.
yep, yep, yeah, they legit. Because I've seen it. Dude,
Seen
because
it.
okay,
Well, you
these two go
also had a
together. Let's see what
Springfield operator as a 10.8 model, a limited model, right?
very, very limited. Yes.
Yeah. And Nighthawk. And did you have a
Yes,
Kimber?
even more limited. And the Kimber, probably I'd say even up as far as limited. There's only 25 of the Kimbers. There's a numbered run of basically like a bare bones 5-inch gun. I think it was the custom.
Yeah.
It was okay. Neither of those hold any kind of a special place in my heart. My buddy told me not to sell the Kimber just because it was part of our legacy. I do not own one of the Nighthawks. I did find through actually you guys on the Patreon helped me find two of the find my way back to a couple of the Springfield 10.8s. So that was kind of nice.
Oh, wow,
Right
that's pretty
on.
cool.
Yeah,
Well, I
yeah,
actually
that's
I
a
just
part of
grabbed
my legacy I'm very proud of.
I have my homage here. I have a first generation 10.8 side stop
Nice. There you go.
and the
You
original.
got the whole catalog on there.
Yeah. So
Nice.
I have a unfitted 10.8 barrel as well with a bushing. I yeah. Yeah. So that's the
Oh,
plan for this eventually, but we'll
okay.
see.
Those are actually good barrels in there, in the Kimbers. Once you gotta ream the chamber, because there's no lead in the rifling
Mhm.
or hardly
Okay.
any. And then, yeah,
Interesting.
ream polish the chamber and then, yeah, you're pretty much good.
Nice. All
They
right.
shoot
Well,
okay.
Kevin,
Well,
do you have any
hopefully
more questions?
not off the top of my head. Hopefully next time we talk, I'm holding a Springfield operator and he can walk me
Yeah.
further
Not
down
hating
the path
America.
of righteousness.
He
Can
almost
my
bought a
my
D-sauce, and I was gonna have to crucify him.
I'm
Fair.
sorry. Which
Fair.
one of us bought a Turkish knockoff 2011? It
Oh,
sure
I
as
did
shit
do that.
wasn't me.
I did do that. That is true, and I hated it. And I immediately
See.
now, in my defense, I put 250
Oh,
rounds of
there's
spear gold dot through
n-
that thing,
no
and it
different.
ate every round.
I don't
don't
know.
recommend that.
I see.
He
I
was
sense a lot
halfway
of
through the life
violations,
cycle
and
and
you
he
guys need
sells
to
it.
buy the beers.
Yeah.
A lot of violations you guys are buying.
Oh no. All right. Well,
We're gonna blow
Hilton,
out
thank
the
you
beer
so
budget.
much.
All right, Bryce.
Yeah,
Very
we're
good,
okay.
Kevin. Thank you,
Yeah,
guys.
man.
Thank
You're
you for
awesome.
having me on. And
Yes,
folks,
absolutely. We'll
Oh,
definitely
need
try
more
to keep
10
it.
8.
Yeah.
have you on
Well,
again?
Yeah.
plug your stuff, just your website, Instagram.
Yeah. 10-8performance.com. That's 10-8performance.com. And all the socials have the same handle, 108performance, and the same handle on Patreon for an absurd amount of 1911 content there.
Yes, it is. It's really good. It's good stuff.
It's
Also, I forgot.
It's like this, but in writing.
Yes, in
Ooh.
writing,
And video.
it's good, uptight pictures, and as pedantic as you want it to be. It's great. It's a good time.
I might have to put these bad boys on the.
He's going to look up
also-
pedantic.
So I forgot to thank my wife up top. Thank you so much, Hannah, for making this happen, for scheduling everything. You
Thank
are
you,
the best,
Hannah.
and the reason this happens. I appreciate my
Thank you,
beautiful
Hannah.
wife, who actually just messaged me.
Did you
So-
mention the friends on the show?
Oh shit. Really quickly, friends of the show, Hammy 3D Prints, the Carry Handle Gang, and every permeation therein, because I can't remember my own product plug thing for our buddy. Eastern Sling Shore Company, Maryland-based sling company, great stuff. Carry Handle, Carry Handle, 10% off, and then
19 Charlie Tactical.
19 Charlie Tactical, I believe, is the Carry Handle 10. All friends of the channel. We don't get any kickbacks. They're just awesome people. And yeah, thank you so much for tuning in. And we hope to see you guys next time.
God loves
yeah.
America.
Yes, but only if
you.
you have a 45.
There you go.
Yes. All right. I'm going to roll the outro. Hey, you made it to the end of the video. Very cool. You should like and subscribe.
On Facebook and Instagram.
And Twitter and Spotify. You should listen there too. If you
Aren't they
heard this on
listening to
Spotify.
this on Spotify right now?
Well, they could be, but there's also YouTube podcasts. So, all of the places.
We always forget where we post this stuff.
We don't know where this is. Thank you for listening wherever you're listening to, but you should also like the other places that we are. And
Who are we and what the hell are we doing here?
Yeah, I don't know how we got here. So thank you for letting us talk directly into your ear holes.
Right to the brain.
Thanks for listening. Bye.
Adios.